Hello and welcome to the jungle. Not really. The song was just playing in my classroom. That's all. That's why I'm just being goofy. Anyway, we're going to be trying to return the largest numbers in arrays used from freeCodeCamp. And so I'm going to be walking you through some new methods. Now, last time we talked a little bit about going through and using the for loops, but I'm going to show you something a little bit different now, just so I can work through some more array methods and things for you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and take you over to freeCodeCamp here. And this is what we're going to be trying to achieve, but I'll be explaining this later. Boop. And again, I tested this again before just to make sure it works so I don't look like a complete idiot. So what are we going to be using today? Well, instead of a generic for loop here, we're going to be doing something called prototype for each, which is an array method. Now, instead of doing a for loop for each array, then another for loop for each subarray that we need, I can instead, when we have an array of arrays, I can do a function to every single piece of that array that will apply to the subarrays. Huh? What am I talking about? I'm going to come back to that. But essentially, what this is going to allow me to do is if you just do for each, and let's say here, you can see I'm just taking a simple array, all right, and saying for each, just console log that out, and I'm going to get all of the elements of that array. But what happens if I have an array in an array? What is that going to do? Well, that's going to allow me to apply a function to those different arrays. Now you can see there's so much more here that we can go through and do, and you can kind of look through this later to try to do more with this. But I'm just going to show you one method to using these arguments here. And the way I'm going to do it is to iterate through the array to look into the subarray. Next, we have sort. Well, what does sort do? Sort does many things. Most simply, we'll use it like this. We'll take an array. Okay, we have another array method here, and I have an array of numbers. Let's say I want to sort them from largest to smallest. I can take my numbers, sort it, and give myself an anonymous function. It doesn't have a name. It only works right here, and it's going to take in two parameters, a and b. And if I use this syntax here, a minus b, it's going to return me 1, 2, 3, 4, nice and ordered from smallest to largest. Conversely, if I want to find the biggest, okay, what I can do is I can say b minus a, and then now it's going to return the opposite of this, which is what we're going to do. Now, by itself, we're going to be using sort later on for more simpler things, like a, there we go, here's an array of values here, and these are all strings, and it's going to sort them, as you can tell, by alphabetical order. So you're going to need that a little bit later on. But for right now, for today, we're going to mainly be using this right down here with my function AB. It's my anonymous function taking an A and B, and we're going to sort these from largest to smallest instead of smallest to largest, so I'm going to return B minus A. One more we have here is splice. Now, splice is different than slice. We do have up to, looks like 3 arguments we can take in here. Actually, some more, but for the most part, here is a simple 3 arguments. We have a start point. We have a delete count, which means we're deleting things, and then we can insert items in that spot. So here we have an array, angel, clown, surgeon, mandarin. We're going to splice, starting at index 2. Now, just like slice, 0, 1, 2, we're going to be splicing right there, in between clown and mandarin. And how many things are we going to delete? 0. And what are we going to splice in? The word drum. So now we have, in between clown and mandarin, we have the word drum. So we're going to be using this as well. But instead of adding something in, we can just use this to delete a bunch of stuff, which is what we're going to be doing. The next thing I'm going to want to use is reduce. So what is reduce here? Reduce allows me to do many things. Again, reduce is going to take in an anonymous function with a and b. And if we use reduce on a simple array, which is right here, we can do something like add all the arrays together, and you get a sum of 6, or all the individual elements of the array together. We also can use it for this. This is really what I want right here. See, flattened? We can flatten an array of arrays. So this is what we're dealing with today. We have an array with a bunch of sub-arrays. If I want to flatten this array, I can say an array, and then I can reduce anonymous function AB. And here's that concat again. We can concatenate. We could say A, concat B, and it's going to take all of these in order. 1, 2, 3, just like this. And it's going to give us a single flattened array, which is what we want to do. All right, so what do we have to do? Here is our array, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4 sub-arrays in it. And I want to take this, and what I want out, so here's the largest of 4. What I want here, again, should return an array, and it should return an array with only the largest values of those sub-arrays. So how are we going to do this logically? Well, the first thing that we're going to want to do is make sure that we sort the numbers in each subarray and find the largest number. So if I find the largest number in this array by ordering them in some way, which I've kind of already showed you we're going to use sort for, we can get the largest number in the 0th position for each of these subarrays. The next thing we can do to these arrays is then I'm going to use my splice after I get the largest number in the first position to delete everything else in the array. So we essentially have an array with subarrays, and each subarray will only have one value. And then I'm just going to flatten that array. Sounds pretty good, right? So let's try that. Now, luckily for us in these arrays here, I don't even have to resort those arrays because it looks like these arrays, the largest numbers are in ascending order already. So that's why I'm going to do this with one less step. If these subarrays were mixed up, we'd have to do an extra step, but we're just going to solve this problem for right now. So let's get started here. We're taking in an argument, which is an array of arrays. So let's just start off by doing stuff to this. I know that I'm going to take in this array, and then for each object in this array, which is going to be a subarray. Okay, so that means for each subarray, what do I want to do? Well, here's my anonymous function, and that function, all right, what do we want to do? Well, I want to look at just this individual little subarray. How do I do that? Well, I can just take in one parameter. Okay, so what do I want to do to that one parameter or that subarray? And I'm going to remember to put my syntax there correctly, just to make it a little easier to read. Well, I want to return something out of this. What do I want to return? Well, I want to return a sorted subarray. Well, how do I do that? Well, I can just take my new argument here, A. Now, so we have an array for each. So for each of these things in this main array, which are arrays in themselves. So for each subarray, okay, I want to return that subarray, which is identified by this argument A. So for each subarray, I want to sort. Now remember how we can use that sort again. So where's my sort up here? We're going to be using this thing right here, and just like we sorted each subarray here, and we got from 1 to 5 in ascending order, I want to put them in descending order. So instead of A minus B, I'm going to use B minus A. So let's make this. This is going to take in another anonymous function. Okay. And that function, again, is going to have two arguments, A and B. And what are we going to do with those A and B arguments? Well, we're going to sort them. Uh-oh, see how this starts getting a little sticky here? I'm going to start by making sure I clean this up with my sort of my period at the end of the sentence, right? My semicolon. And here we go. And so inside of here, then, all I need to do is return B minus A. So right now, we can actually see what we get in my console. Hey, look, the biggest number is in the first position. Success. All right. Now, let's take a look at what we got here. Function A, B, sort. Good to go. Now, minus A. There we go, success. B minus A. I was wondering what looked funny. I said success before there was success. So that should all make sense to you. So now I have this here. So all of this array method here is going to be one thing. So in order to save some space in my screen, I usually leave these in as I'm coding just for comments and things, but since I don't need it, I'm going to take out some of these spaces. Okay, so I have my first array method here. Now, so I have everything sorted as I like them. I'm going to create some more space here. So as you can see again, we have everything in the first position is the largest number. All right, the largest number is in the first position. Good to go. What do we have to do next? Well, now I want to take all of these numbers and I only want to keep this first number. And in order to do that, I'm actually going to use the splice method. I'm going to start at not the 0th position, but the first position here, say like right there. And I'm just going to delete everything out of that. So I can just use my length command. And if I want to make this look a little better, I can actually say the length minus 1. So that way it deletes just what I need. For example, on this one, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be the length, right? So if I'm slicing in here, I only really need to delete 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's going to be similar to what we have back here. So how am I going to do this? So again, I'm going to use for each. So now I'm going to take this array that's sorted in each subarray. I'm going to add another for each. And again, that for each is going to take in our anonymous function. All right. And again, I am just going to be using a single parameter here. And that single parameter, we use A again, just like we did right up here. Same kind of thing. And then we're going to have to make sure we have this and we end our sentence. Boop. Good to go. I'll give myself some space to make it look a little neater. What do I want to return out of here? Well, I want to return out of this A again, which it's going to do the same thing for each subarray. So each subarray, I want to splice. So splice, and I want to start at the 0 first position. So it's going to slice right before the first position. Okay, and how far I want to go, and that's what I just showed you before, which is going to be the array length. Array dot length, and again minus 1, because we don't really have to cut off the whole array. We can just end with that array dot length minus 1 and end that sentence. So let's see if this works, or see if I made a syntax error. Oh, I didn't. Hooray! Now I have an array with subarrays with only one element in it. But now all I have to do is flatten my array. Hey, wait, I mentioned that before, and again, I'll get rid of some space here. So how do we do this? Well, we're going to be using this reduce function. And just like here, we have this flatten. We're going to follow the same format right here. All right, with A concat B. And we're going to be using with our anonymous function again. So we're going to come back in here, and we're just going to set our array, or our main argument here. I'm just going to set that equal. Now I can identify a variable and put it in a separate variable, but there's no need to complicate things here. I can just say my array, all right, dot reduce. And again, I need to follow that same format I showed you, which is an anonymous function. Function, not a function. Although function sounds more fun. It's not an actual thing, apparently. And again, that's going to take in an A and a B. And then I can do something with that A and B. So I can add in my curly braces, remember to end my sentence. And now I can go in here and I have some room. And what do I want to return? I only want to return A concat B. Concat B. All right. Bloop. And again, I took that directly from flattening an array right here. And we will see what we get. Play return A concat B. And we get an unexpected token because I added a dot there by accident. Again, syntax error. Oops. Whoa, feel that need for speed. Success. All right. So one more time, we just went through. We used our for each to go through every single piece of our array. We sorted through our array, and we, instead of going from smallest to largest, we went from largest to smallest by saying B minus A. We spliced starting at this zeroth after the zeroth position, so we had to put in 1 because it slices before the 1. And I did the entire array minus 1, so I just cut everything off and I tossed that out. And then I flattened my array using this method right here. All right, and that is the prototype reduce. Hopefully that was helpful for you, and then I will see you next time.